The Fantasy Footballer Studio is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. The Fantasy Footballers Podcast, Monday, December 16th. Jason Moore, Andy Holloway with you today. No Mike. He is out sick. He was with us yesterday.
He was. I think maybe a too much smoked brisket problem?
I don't know. He said he started crashing last night, and then we got the infamous 3:42 a.m. Slack message that said, consider me doubtful for tomorrow, which, 3:42 a.m., you're not going to see him. That's a full OUT.
No, we're not going to get an update of like, yeah, fellas,
I feel a lot better since 3:42.
Turns out I'm not okay, or I'm totally fine. I was worried. So I had my son hung out with a friend all day yesterday, and then as my wife and I were going to bed, we get a text from that son's mom of like, my kid went to bed just fine, just woke up throwing up like crazy.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no. But we had no such wake up throw up.
It feels a little bit like just getting through Christmas is dodging, because you're at all of these events. If you have kids, kids are, they're a problem.
Yeah, they're a huge problem for disease.
And I had to go to a recorder concert.
Congratulations.
That's a thing. I see Deucer's Alley laughing because it was 2 hours of people playing recorders. But that's a gathering of people. And
Did they play hot cross buns ever?
No.
Oh, come on, man.
No, that's too easy for them.
Can't go back to the classics?
Then it's like you were at plays for your kids. I was at a Grinch play with my daughter, and just tons of people there. Like, you got to dodge illness, and Mike obviously unskilled.
Yeah.
And I didn't think you'd be here because I thought you might be sick today. You know what I mean?
You're talking about my no. My update for the Foot Clan, my garbage team that backed into the playoffs going up against Jeremy's awesome team. While it did have some fun moments, and it seemed like, my Bengals defense might take me over the top, it is not going to happen.
Would you say that your team didn't quite cross the goal line?
We did not. I see what you did there. Just like the Bengals dropping the touchdown.
I mean, you had Jonathan Taylor and the Bengals who both couldn't finish running over a goal line.
They both had wide open, easy, unbelievably great touchdowns that the players dropped the ball crossing the goal line. Why? Like, if it happens once in the NFL, that's got to be a lesson.
We all know Deshaun Jackson is made to do that.
That was the famous one. And then a couple of years ago, it happened. Who was it? It was another. It was a star. I forget who it was, but another wide receiver did it. Maybe earlier this year or last year. And then this week, two players.
We had. Was it Malachi Corley for the Jets? Did it?
Yes,
because it was going to be his first career touchdown. Hold on to the football until you're 100% sure you're in the painted area. But Al Borland was there for about half the day. And you two were yelling at each other, every good thing that happened, every bad thing, very loud. It was entertaining. It was fun. I have a bye. It was all I could live for.
Right. Yeah. Our enjoyment.
But if Al had been here when Jonathan Taylor did what he did and that had been consequential, I can't imagine what Al would have done.
Yeah. 41-yard rushing touchdown. That was awesome until all of a sudden he decides to drop the ball before.
But you got throttled regardless. Five more guys could have dropped the ball before the goal line.
It's okay. The most important league, Mike and I's champ league. We ironically we came in the morning and we decide based on some weather and the fact that Taylor Swift obviously is not going to show up. We decide to bench Travis Kelce.
It's really good analysis
for DJ Moore.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, Travis Kelce scores 4 points. So we're like, whew.
Good call.
Good call. Well, now our opponent, has finished. He's completely done, and he's up by 2 points.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, man, I wish I played Travis Kelce because DJ Moore is going to score more than 2 points, but I mean, there's a chance he doesn't.
That would be legendary for tomorrow's show. We got Studs and Duds today. We got Monday Punday today. We got a congratulations for Al Borland as the people were following along. Al, still alive. Blood pressure is it calm now? Are you back to normal?
I feel great.
Just for now, until next week.
That's right.
So there is the chance, for the show's sake, that if Al wins his matchup next week and I win mine, it'll be another face-off here in the studio.
Championship matchup between Owl and Andy. I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of reactions. I will tell you, reviewing the Monday Punday reactions, there were a lot more people upset than there were people happy with disappointing performances. We'll get into them momentarily.
It's because some of the disappointing performances were not like they let you down. They were like they destroyed you.
They put you down.
They stabbed you,
took you out
in the back with a knife. They twisted it.
Yeah.
And then on your way down, they kicked you in the balls from the back.
Oh, and that's, you know what? Not great.
No.
Not great. One quick reminder, though, before we jump into Monday Punday, we got to get this out there because it's championship season. If you go to fantasychamps.com, that is where you can find championship belts, trophies, rings, all of your swag for your league. Right now, if you put in the code FREERING and you buy a belt or a trophy, you will get a free championship ring, which we've got those displayed proudly in our office for every title we've won.
Yep, they are $59. They are sweet. There's like 6 different $59 rings that you could choose. You just add the trophy and add the ring to your cart, put in the code FREERING, and you get the ring for free. So call your shot now.
Yeah, fantasychamps.com is where you want to go. We remind people around this time of year to pick up their swag for their league. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into Monday Punday reactions for week number 15. Well, we'll start with the good. Like Jerry Juicy.
Yes, he was. Or Malik Navidad.
That's pretty good. Or Jared Go Off.
Oh, James Cookin.
Next to Josh Alien.
Yeah, those guys are unstoppable right now. OMG St. Brown.
Yeah, big game for Amon-Ra. Terry McScorin, once again.
And wham, bam, thank you, lamb.
Okay. The bad. Like Toilet Tagovailoa.
Yeah, to turn the ball over.
Oh, Jonathan Failer.
Yeah, it was. Brock Turdy.
And Bo Picks.
A lot of picks. Bo, a lot of picks. Kyler murdered me.
Yeah, he did. And Jason, a little combo here, me and you. Lamest Winston.
Jameis benched, son.
Yeah. Cooper Suck.
Gooser Cup.
Isaac Rear Endo.
That's good. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
And Barfin Harrison Jr.
I wonder what your objective reaction to Marvin Harrison would be, because you, on our I think it was our busts episode, you called this. You said not all paths lead to greatness for Marvin Harrison in his rookie season. Most people thought that he was on his way to a dominant year, that there was just no way that couldn't happen with the way the targets broke down in the offense and the Cardinals. And if I'd even told you ahead of time that the Cardinals would be sitting a game out of first place, with a 500 record at this stage in the season, you'd probably be even more inclined to believe that Marvin Harrison had a big
Well, and if you told me he's like the leader in targets for the team that's vying for the playoffs.
Touchdowns.
But
it hasn't happened.
Some
ways
that you can look at it, though. Some ways that you can look at it. This is a very successful rookie season. I'm pretty sure he's leading all rookie wide receivers in touchdowns. Maybe that's not true after Brian Thomas Jr. I'd have to check after this week, but last week he was. He has been involved. He has shown plenty of flashes, but for fantasy football purposes, he's an outright bust. This was a player you picked at the back of the first round, and he's had lots of good performances and lots of stinkers. It's funny because in Monday Punday, he's basically there every week. He either had a really good game,
right,
and was awesome and helped you, and it was like, oh,
or he's starving Harrison.
Yeah. farting, Harrison.
47 receptions, 687 yards, 7 touchdowns is where he sits.
47 receptions is terrible. 92 targets is awesome.
But that catch rate is, I mean, it continues.
They're so out of sync. I
think Kyler sucks.
So, yes, Kyler does suck. However, Kyler's reads to Marvin Harrison, and I even think the throws to Marvin Harrison aren't bad.
I don't know why he can't catch the football.
He picks them at the right time. He finds them in every one-on-one matchup, and he gives them a catchable ball that Marvin Harrison is just out of sync with when he turns, when he jumps, when he whatevers.
I heard good friend of the show, Matt Harmon, talk about Marvin Harrison and discuss him in the context of this is a bigger player that plays like a smaller player. Elite route running, you talk about what Amon-Ra does well. You talk about what he doesn't seem to go up and win on these routes that they're running him on. The back shoulder fades, the corner fades. I've seen none of that. Almost none of that come down in his arms.
I think it will get rectified and fixed in the future.
With a taller quarterback or what?
No, I think with him growing into his man body and learning the skills of when he was in college.
About that.
When he was in college, he toasted guys. And, he didn't have to make a bunch of contested catches. He didn't have to make back shoulder throws over great defenders where, he's right there with someone. He's got to turn and moss a guy quite the same. And
I can't stand the play calling in Arizona. I
can't
can't stand the blobfish, the offensive coordinator.
It's really not fair. It's really not fair.
Not fair? To have him as the
blobfish thing.
That's not a good nickname.
It's not, but we say it every time
we see him. Petzing?
Yeah. Blobfish?
All right, that's a little bit of hometown frustration coming out. Let's move on.
Welcome to Ready to Roll, presented by Nissan.
Honestly, I'd put that in the bottom 5 nicknames you could be called.
I would not want to be called Blobfish. That would feel bad.
Yeah, like in grade school, if you were the Blobfish, no hope.
Yeah, the only hope is
you going to that dance with the blobfish?
No, I'm not taking the blobfish to the dance. Yeah, I hope that Petzing's family does not let him listen to this episode.
No one listens to this show. All right, Jason, move on.
So this week we are going to take a look at incentives, and over the next 2 weeks we're going to look more about team incentives, motivations. That really matters for fantasy football coming into the playoffs, the championship rounds. But right now we get into a place where we can have a couple pieces of insight to specific players and what their contract situations say. Hey, I'm going to get a bonus if I get another touchdown. I'm going to get a bonus if I can get 10 more receptions, yada, yada. And we hear this after the season every single year, sometimes after the games late in the season. The players know this. All the players on the teams know this. The coaches know this. The coaches are trying to get their players these bonuses. We hear it all the time. We'll hear it again at the end of this year. Yeah, so-and-so needed another touchdown. We drew up the play. It did or it didn't happen, but they forced the issue to try to get some of these bonuses. So it's good for us to know, hey, you know what? Coach might try to force the ball to this guy.
Honestly, the areas you guys might hear this out there and say, well, that's not true, and these teams have higher priorities. And you're right, except it happens a lot late in games. So when games are kind of put to bed, you saw CeeDee Lamb out there for the fourth quarter of games last year to break records for the Cowboys for that's for records, not incentives.
Yeah.
But it's late in games. even in the Arizona game, they very intentionally tried to call a play to get Trey McBride his touchdown. They knew I had guaranteed it on the show. They threw him one of those old Travis Kelce underhand pitches, and he got stood up on the 1-inch line, and they didn't get it to him. But I'm telling you, that's McBride and his touchdown. Those are going to come into play at the end of games, and the same will go with some of these incentives, especially for important players.
Yeah, so let's break it down by positions. Quarterbacks, there's not a lot here. Jameis Winston, every game that he is the starter of and wins, he's going to get $100,000. So, that's great. He's motivated. And Josh Allen, if he wins the NFL MVP, will get $1.5 million as a bonus. So congratulations, Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think he's got that.
You're
locked.
getting $1.5 million. Also, you soups deserve it. Josh Allen has been unfreaking stoppable, and he does whatever he wants.
He does seem like he's playing with, a lower division sometimes. You know what I mean? Where he's out there and he's physically a force every single play.
So at the running back position, you got Saquon and Derrick Henry. Both of them have big rushing totals, 2,000 plus total rushing and receiving yards for Saquon and 1,500 rushing yards for Derrick Henry. They're going to get a lot of money combined over $1 million, but they're like right there. I think Derrick Henry needs about 25 more rushing yards, and Saquon needs like 40 more rushing receiving yards. So that's a done deal. I don't think there's any motivation there. Derrick Henry's teammate, however, this one is interesting to me. Justice Hill needs 50 receptions to get $250,000. And Justice Hill, a lot of times it's these level of players that the coaches really care about getting them their $250,000. Saquon has his cajillions of dollars, but Justice Hill, he's at 42 receptions right now, needs to get to 50. He's got 3 games left to get there to get $250,000. Also, if he gets another 125 rushing yards, he gets another $250,000. So Justice Hill, I could see, and the Harbaughs, they know this stuff. I think down the stretch, you could call it a double whammy.
Especially if games are out of hand.
Yeah, you could see Justice Hill. So if you're in a flex situation, that could be interesting. Joe Mixon needs a solid rushing the next couple weeks to get another $250,000. And then another one that I think is...
By the way, the Joe Mixon one, I'm a little scared about how that division is broken down. I know we're going to talk about team motivations, but like Joe Mixon needs 1,100 yards. He's at 910. But I don't know if they can change their seeding that much. Kyle, are you listening in here? They've locked the division up. That would be one that we should look into pretty closely.
Yeah, we'll look at that and the team motivations here coming up. Their schedule is also pretty tough, Kansas City, Baltimore, the next 2 weeks. So here's one, I think, for fantasy. This is probably one of the sweet spots. Tony Pollard. If you've got Tony Pollard out there, this is a player that I think is motivated and has some reachable goals. He needs 1,100 rushing yards, and he's got 982. So he has to get a couple hundred rushing yards in the next 3 games to hit $250,000. And even more important for fantasy, he's 2 touchdowns away from his contractual bonus. So basically he needs a couple hundred yards and 2 touchdowns. If you get 1 touchdown, if he comes out and has a rushing touchdown this week, I promise you he's getting a rushing touchdown in the final 2 weeks.
He's going to be a tough one too because he left hurt again. So he's dealing with the ankle injury, but he's one of the big names that have those incentives. At wide receiver, Juwan Jennings right on the cusp of a big threshold.
Juwan Jennings has been making money.
He's got a lot of incentives.
He's already cashed 50% of snaps. That's a $1.5 million. And then another basically $1.2 million for crossing 600 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. He needs 1 more reception, and he will complete his $3.5 million bonuses. He's been awesome.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton has several bonuses. He needs to hit 1,065 receiving yards. You have Mike Evans.
That's the big
huge one.
That's the big one.
He's at is this the updated numbers, 52, 749, and 9?
Yeah, so he basically needs 18 receptions and
250 yards.
250 yards and another touchdown, and he will get a $3 million bonus. So this is like
that's great.
You have to bank
him.
You have to bank on Mike Evans to get 8 receptions a game right now, 80 yards a game right now, and be used around the end zone. That's not like a lot of these are you're going to get $250,000. That's $3 million to hit those thresholds.
That 1,000 receiving yard streak that he's had going for quite a while, 250 more yards in the remaining games. That's a big one.
He's going to get that. They will throw a game to get him the 1,000 yards. So Mike Evans down the stretch, I think obviously if you had him this week, you had a good run and you probably won your fantasy playoffs. I think it'll happen the next 2 weeks as well.
Hunter Henry needs 3 more receptions for a $250K payout. Jonnu Smith needs to stay above the snap count, the 55% of snaps, to get $400,000. He's at 59%.
And the last interesting one to me is Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz gets $250,000 when he gets to 60 and 600 or 70 and 700. He's at 54 and 526, so he's really close to his first bonus. But he left the game with a concussion, and so this is a player that they probably want him in the playoffs if they get down there. But as far as like motivation to clear and get back on the field and be really involved, he's really close to that threshold. So I expect to see him again and have him at least get to that first threshold.
All right, that was ready to roll. Thanks again to our sponsor, Nissan. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Visit nissanusa.com to learn more. Intelligent all-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. We'll take a break. We'll hit the news. All right, we are jumping in with some important news as we get ready for the doubleheader on Monday night and then heading into Week 16 of your fantasy playoffs.
News and notes from around the league, presented by USAA Insurance.
Okay, well, prior to kickoff, we got word that Hollywood Brown could make his debut next week.
Carson Wentz is so happy.
Right. I mean, that's let's get into it. Patrick Mahomes left late in the second half with a right high ankle sprain. He's undergoing additional imaging today. Andy Reid said no fracture, x-rays negative. Next week it's the Texans. Then it's the Steelers.
We have talked about the history with high ankle sprains. Oftentimes you either miss no games or you miss 3 games. And so I think it's a real TBD situation. They're calling this week to week. Mahomes is tough. He's going to want to play through it, but they're battling for the number 1 seed. I mean, it makes a big difference if they end up losing some of these games. Tough games. Houston, Pittsburgh, and Denver, those are winnable and losable games.
So it could be Carson Wentz for a week or two. We'll find out a lot more this week, and that there are players that you're counting on, in particular Travis Kelce and his kind of lull right now. And
so are you hoping it's Carson then, so that they have a chance to be good for fantasy again?
I did go through the mental exercise of what do I think of Travis Kelce if it's Carson Wentz, and I didn't really think that was so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Mahomes has been really airing it out.
Or even like, I mean, I want more of the dump offs. I want more of the short area design stuff that's, less challenging, and that's where Kelce can be your best friend. Tight ends are dropping like flies right now. I have a bunch of tight ends in Dynasty that I would have maybe been tempted to put ahead of Kelce. Zach Ertz is gone, right? David Njoku just missed another week. Players are going down left and right. So Mahomes is an injury we're monitoring. Geno Smith left the Sunday Night Football game with a knee injury, did not return. They said structurally it looks okay.
That's good news.
Yeah, hopefully, athletically, we'll see if he can play on it. Tommy DeVito ruled out with a concussion. Tim Boyle was the QB2. Now that Drew Lock is out, QB4 for their attempts at fixing that position.
QB1 on the Superflex waiver wire.
Yeah, and QB1 in our hearts for Malik Navidad. I mean, Malik Neighbors got it done, and it was because Tim Boyle knew what to do. He knew the assignment.
Yes. He's like, where is Malik? Okay, yeah. I'm going to throw it that way.
That's the smartest thing you can do. This one's a problem. This is my red alert of the week. Alvin Kamara left early with a groin injury, didn't return to the Saints game. He's considered day-to-day. But the problem here, and it's a big one, it's a Monday Night Football game for the Saints next week. Now, God willing, we find out early in the week that he's doing fine. But when you don't come back into a game, I'm worried. And the Monday Night Football situation, now you can go pick up Kendre Miller. He's going to be a waiver wire pickup.
Yeah.
But if he's already picked up in your league and you're looking at Monday Night Football, the pivot options are not going to be there. You're going to have to make a call on players on Sunday.
Yeah, so that's going to be the Green Bay matchup. So really Kendre Miller.
With a backup quarterback.
Yeah, really Kendre Miller's your only, potential option there. You're going to need to move him to your flex at the very least so that you you open up some wide receivers and you could throw in a Christian Watson or Dontavian Wicks if you don't have Alvin Kamara. But it's not great. And this was a game.
It was already going to be a problem for Kamara in this Green Bay game.
Yeah.
14-point underdogs.
This is the game that he did not come back in against the Manders. They were coming back to win. Like, they really, really needed him.
And he had a great touchdown catch.
It was awesome. He's so good. I can't believe how good Alvin Kamara is at 29.
He's the running back.
Ooh, I would guess 3 or
5.
4?
5.
Okay.
Yeah. It was he was on his way, and he in a game where he only rushed for 12 total yards. He was and left early, running back 13 on the week. Nick Chubb out for the year, broken foot.
That is brutal. It was such a turn of events because we're watching the game and you see Nick Chubb streaking down the sideline for a huge touchdown, and we're like, yes, he's finally healthy. Oh, that's Jerome Ford.
That's 34, not 24.
Oh, why is Jerome Ford? Oh, Chubb broke his foot. So it went from being like, I'm so happy he's healthy to he's done for the year. That stinks.
It was reported earlier this morning that the Vikings have not ruled out, by the way, offering Sam Darnold a contract for next season.
That makes a ton of sense. I think the Vikings should. They don't know whether or not McCarthy is going to be great. I mean, why not have a competition? It doesn't hurt. They know that they can win a lot of games with Darnold.
Yeah. What else? Jalen Waddle.
Oh, he did not waddle back into the game like he always does.
Yeah, he got hurt, and
it was a brutal looking the way he was bent back over. Of course, all Waddle injuries every game are brutal looking, and he's writhing in pain. Then he comes back on the field, but unfortunately, he didn't. He'll have an MRI today, and
if he misses time, I wonder what Malik Washington,
he would be the next
waiver wire story will be.
He would be the next man up. I think it'll probably be Jonnu Smith as the prime beneficiary. Really wish I still had him. Yeah, you could have. You just made a boneheaded decision.
Yeah. At least I'm still in the playoffs. Zach Ertz left early due to a concussion.
Game's not over yet. Sam Darnold. Look, I can still, if Sam Darnold outscores Justin Jefferson and Bijan by about 55, I'm still in, baby.
Oh, you said you're still in the playoffs? Is that what that is?
Yep.
Cool, man. It was great because there were all these moments yesterday, and where it was really over. But I knew I could look over at Jason and I'd see him just his eyes were on the screens with his players, and that touchdown by Cincinnati that wasn't a touchdown. I mean, it's like he's all of us. I mean, we all stay.
You have hope until
glued
it's
in.
Completely snuffed out.
And it's not over yet. So you just need Darnold to not use Jefferson to the tune of 50 plus.
He needs to have a 50-plus point game without using Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
And then Bijan needs to go out first play.
So you're scared there, Al? Back there, you're really terrified?
I'm pretty confident.
Okay. All right. That was today's news and notes presented by USAA Insurance. Learn more at usaa.com/insurance. Let's talk studs.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
It's not every week that Lamar Jackson can go out, throw 5 touchdowns, and score as many fantasy points as he did, and end up third on the week. But Josh Allen and Jared Goff outperformed Lamar Jackson's 5-touchdown performance. Allen absolutely going crazy.
Josh Allen
2 straight
over
weeks.
Not 2 straight weeks. This is here's his run of his quarterback finishes over the last 6 weeks. Quarterback 2, quarterback 1, quarterback 2, quarterback 1, quarterback 1, and then quarterback 6. What a loser.
He's playing well. He's going to be an MVP.
They have so many weapons, and it's so funny because they don't have a primary weapon. Keon Coleman, great target. Mac Hollins, whatever. Amari Cooper, Shakir, Don Kincaid, Dawson Knox. They've got
James Cook, Ty Johnson.
Yeah, Ty Johnson's involved now. It's Ray Davis.
It's very much. He's the what do they call the one that leads the orchestra?
Conductor.
Yeah, is that what it is? Didn't sound that impressive of a name. The conductor. He is the conductor of the orchestra, and it doesn't matter what, instrument he wants to play on any given.
He did go
in
for X-rays after the game, but from some kind of funky fall, he said they appear to be fine though.
Yeah, he said he wanted peace of mind. Jared Goff, in a comeback effort in the same game, just behind Josh Allen, he had 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
That'll make for a good game.
So he's going to end up a top 5, 6, 7 quarterback on the year, and yet
he had a bad season for fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy-wise, his consistency rating on our site is D. That is 35% of the time over 20 points, and the ones that were over, they were way over. He had big games and can always do that. Lamar Jackson in 3 quarters, was it? Maybe less than that?
Pretty much.
290 and 5, 6 for 65 on the ground. And I was thinking about this morning. I don't know why I was thinking about it. It was just like a random thought that popped into my head. But the Steelers is the matchup next week, and T.J. Watt, with the injury, that could be a significant change to the Steelers' defense against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, T.J. Watt did not return to the game. It was late in the game, and they were already getting blown out, so I think he just knew he was done for the game. It was a low ankle sprain. They'll have to wait and see how it responds and swells, whether he plays against Lamar this week.
I think the word I was looking for, Brooks, thank you, it was maestro. Maestro is it's a much more impressive title for the head of an orchestra than a conductor.
Is that an actual title, or is that just like
I
what
think
makes
conductors
a maestro?
are called maestros.
Oh, okay.
You never heard that?
No, I have. I have, but I'm just wondering why there's 2 words for the same thing.
A distinguished conductor of classical music is a maestro.
So like everyone's a conductor, and then it's like, no, they're distinguished. That dude's
they're like
that
a
dude's a maestro conductor.
Because the other one, you could be like at the front of a train as well, right? Because you got to.
Yeah, they
don't know.
conduct trains.
Jalen Hurts, 25 for 32, 290 and 2, 1 rushing touchdown, and they haven't lost in a really long time.
Yeah, they're playing some good football. You had A.J. Brown, squeaky wheel, get his touchdown, although he did get hurt in this game. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Baker Mayfield seemed like he got back on track and looked great, even though he threw a bad pick, turned the ball over a couple times. He threw 4 touchdowns, and McMillions over there, he
getting it done.
He took all your slander and then your motivation and your belief in him, and he says, "I'm going to be a touchdown machine now."
It wasn't time yet. I told you when I made the guarantee, it was time then. There's a time for everything, Jason.
I can't believe how low on the weekly scoring Jaden Daniels was this week for how good he played. I guess he was a little disappointing in the second half of the week, of the game, but he's like unstoppable. I mean, you're watching these games, and the pass rush, it's very Lamar Jackson. The pass rush is coming after him, and no one can actually get him down because he's just faster than you and evasive.
He's a maestro back there.
And then not everyone can be a maestro.
Okay, he's just he's ordinary conductor.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I played against him this week from Owls super team, and it wasn't fun.
You know, it's going to be tough because I don't think anybody is going to bench him this upcoming week at all.
Against the Eagles.
But you're playing Philly, where he was the quarterback 24 in week 11. Philly's defense is outstanding. You're going to have Jaden Daniels, McLaurin stacks that you got to worry about. And
no Zach Ertz as a safety valve.
No, you just need to hope that game becomes a more, high-scoring affair in the division somehow. But I'm not sure it will. I think that could be tough. You talked about Baker, and we'll move on to running backs. James Conner, the running back 1 on the week. Jahmyr Gibbs, the RB2. James Cook, the RB3. Those of you that stuck with James Cook, it was tough after last week. You got scared. You got started shaking with fear, but if you stuck with him, you were rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much if you stuck with any Bill not named Amari Cooper, you were pretty happy.
Amari Cooper killed people.
He did.
He killed people.
He went from 14 targets to nothing.
His snap counts weren't that off of last week either.
No, I mean,
they just said, no thanks.
You want pieces of the Bills. You want to take a shot. I threw Keon Coleman into my lineup, and he had a bomb that unfortunately was not a touchdown.
What a throw.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs had an awesome game, and this was the first time this season it came at the expense of David Montgomery. You saw the Lions really start to get boat raced by the Bills to the tune where you're talking an early fourth quarter onside kick.
It's really dumb.
Whatever, you could debate that, but my point is the Lions were in a real we've got to catch up mode. We've got to throw the ball. There's a reason Jared Goff threw for 500 yards, and that came at the expense of David Montgomery because Gibbs is clearly the better asset for that style of football. And but Gibbs
you
was
didn't
great.
like Montgomery's 5 attempts for 4 yards?
I didn't love it as someone playing him.
No, but he never dropped the ball right before crossing the goal line.
Oh man,
so that is one in his corner. Chase Brown yet again delivering a big game. Tajay Spears, after Pollard left, Spears, well, early in the game too, he got a goal line opportunity and Statue of Liberty'd himself up into the stratosphere.
That touchdown, if you haven't seen the Tajay Spears touchdown, just Google because it's so funny. He does the thing where he jumps up and reaches the ball across the goal line and scores the touchdown immediately as soon as it crosses the plane. And then for some reason the Bengals decide to help him celebrate by lifting him up and carrying him for 5 yards deeper into the end zone as he just holds the ball up like a trophy.
Josh Jacobs was awesome yet again, 26 for 94, rushing touchdown. He was kind of the whole offense in the first half. 4 targets, 4 for 42. He has been on fire, 5 straight top 10 finishes. And he kind of feels better than – like you go into this week and like Derrick Henry is kind of in a lull right now in the offense, and they got Pittsburgh. And how do you – I mean, you got to feel really good if you have Jacobs.
Jacobs feels like a top 5 back, especially for this week against the Saints. You're going to be heavy favorites. Their run defense isn't great. So, Jacobs looks awesome. Championship week is where you get a little scared against the Minnesota Vikings and their great rush defense. But, I mean, you're not going away from Jacobs. He's been top 5 back in, 10 straight finishes, something like that.
I don't want to leave it I don't want to go bypass James Conner in a conversation there because he was 16 for 110. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He caught 5 passes. And this is, I mean, he is so close to finishing a season. But next week is Carolina. They're the worst rushing defense in the league.
And Trey Benson left injured and didn't come back.
That's why I wanted to bring it up. Trey Benson is out with an injury. Amari DiMercado's already out. The Cardinals are in a very like Chuba in Carolina situation where there isn't backups. James Conner, this is what we said about his schedule. It was going to line up really, really well for running backs down the stretch. Carolina and then Los Angeles in the title game. Pay attention to that. And then like we said, Spears is going to be really relevant. Pollard might miss. I mean, he just might not be able to play.
Yeah, if Pollard can't play, Tajay Spears against Indianapolis will be probably the pickup of the week and the pickup and play.
Yeah. Anybody else at the running back position you want to talk about, Jason?
Rico Dowdle. Mike's not here. We got to give him the shout-out. 149 rushing yards. Mike's start of the week. And he continues to really help the Cowboys. It seems like if they had listened to Mike at the beginning of the season, maybe that they got off to a better start than Rico's been great. Rico has taken 20-plus carries, and you look at the last 3 weeks, 112 yards, 131 yards, 149 yards. The offense for the Cowboys has looked better. And you think back to the beginning of the year when they were losing games and Rico's out there getting, 7, 8 carries for 26, 30 yards, and they're giving Zeke some work, and they're mixing in everyone they can, Lupke or –
Yeah, I mean, it's and there's that Carolina defense that I was just talking about with James Conner giving up a nice 149. 112, 131, 149. Dowdle is trying to break his own record every week. Rachaad White got into the end zone again, start of the week, 15 for 64. Bucky was great. Just didn't score.
Yeah, Bucky is so superior to Rachaad White. I mean, he really is. When you watch these two guys run, it feels like they need to give Bucky the ball more. I feel so bad for Bucky the man, though. He is playing through it. He is toughing it out. That is a man.
Well, they're right there for the playoffs.
Tomorrow morning, this guy's not going to be walking. He's going to be in a wheelchair, being wheeled to practice, but he'll get back out there by Sunday. Drink your protein. Get in a hyperbaric chamber. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Wide receivers, top scorers.
Oh, man.
My really crappy backing into the dynasty playoffs 6-seed team has Devontae Adams and Mike Evans. So
Mike and I's champ team has
both guys?
Devontae Adams and Mike Evans. And that's
We're moving on.
That's a nice combination.
Yeah.
I played against Devontae Adams on Jeremy's team. I didn't like it.
No,
Jeremy, why didn't you play Mooney instead?
I told him early in the morning that day, you're like, I don't know. I mean, you obviously made the right call.
I could see a world where Devontae has a monster game, and I could see a world where he gooses.
Well,
he had the monster game.
After kind of a slow start. 9 for 198 and 2. Amazing to see what he's still capable of.
Oh, and the drive, the game-winning drive was all Devontae. It was 3 receptions, one of which was like this huge scramble, but nothing was better than the needed pickup for the first down where he toe taps an unbelievably impossible toe tap. That he was old, not old. He was legendarily vintage Devontae Adams in this game.
Yeah, he was every time it got to be third down, you knew where the ball was going and it didn't matter. Mike Evans 9 for 159 and 2. He was outrageous. He showed you the kind of ceiling that he can give Baker because he has an elite weapon. Amon-Ra St. Brown, it was a weird one.
There he is.
It was a weird one. This is not the way the Lions want to play football. They don't want to throw the ball 18 times to Amon-Ra, but when you do, 14 for 193 and 1 is in the cards, and this is a big game for him. Brian Thomas, 10 for 105 and 2.
Brian Thomas, if you haven't been paying attention, I think he's the best rookie wide receiver. Like you talk about going forward, him versus Malik Neighbors. I would rather start Brian Thomas.
You mean for this season?
Yeah. I'm not saying all time. I would still have both Malik and Marv ahead of Brian Thomas, but right now he is the centerpiece of their offense with Mac Jones. He's getting targeted like crazy, and he's just super talented.
Las Vegas next week, not scary. Then Tennessee. So Brian Thomas, strong finish. Terry McLaurin, 2 more touchdowns.
And so many missed opportunities. He had 2 wide open bomb touchdowns that
just missed,
just overthrown. And then he had a couple others. Like he could have had on those. He had 10 total targets. The 3 that he missed were probably worth more than the 73 and 2 that he caught.
Yeah, he's been outrageous. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both got it done against Pittsburgh. It's a big performance. I mean, 23 targets between them.
Yeah, you love to see the consolidation of targets. And if you've got 2 truly elite wide receivers, just do this, quarterbacks. They can't guard both guys they can't double cover both guys every play. So just find the one with the easier coverage and throw it to him every time.
Malik Neighbors, 10 for 82 and 1. Rashad Bateman, 2 touchdowns. He's always a threat down the field. CeeDee Lamb, 9 for 116 and 1. Keeps getting it done with Cooper Rush. It
was nice to see. I can't wait. He's on our League of Record team. I can't wait for his shoulder to be healed and Dak to be back next season.
And then Dobbs with 2 touchdowns last night on 40 yards. This one was interesting to me. Xavier Worthy with 11 targets. I thought that was interesting. He had a pretty good performance, and it's the most receptions he ever had.
He also had 3 carries, which his utilization in the running game is amounted to a handful of touchdowns on the season. The question, though, with the health of Mahomes, I don't think you're going to be relying on Xavier Worthy this next week.
There'll be a lot of unique schemed plays for Carson Wentz, and we just don't know who those will involve. Nico Collins scored twice. Thank goodness he only had 4 catches for 17 yards.
Yeah, 17 yards, and you're happy with the game. Mike always says touchdowns are worth too much, but Mike is a Nico Collins guy, so he didn't think that this week.
Tight ends.
Did you say Jerry Jeudy?
No, Jerry Jeudy, 11 for 108.
He's unstoppable right now.
He looks great.
He looks outstanding. He's the wide receiver 6 on the season. With Jameis, he is perfect. If you look from the bye week, he's been the wide receiver 4, the wide receiver 21, the wide receiver 1, the wide receiver 19, the wide receiver 11. Consistent. And this is coming up against Pittsburgh, Denver, Kansas City Chiefs. So, like, this coming week, he gets the Cincinnati Bengals? Whew!
Yeah, it should be good. There's part of me that's terrified that the Winston benching, I just don't want that to
I was so happy to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson come in and
struggle,
look awful and throw a pick of his own, because I was like, Jameis played his way to the bench, but I was like, please tell me he's not playing his way to the next week bench.
Yeah. No, it was wild. Tight ends: Johnny Smith, Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, Brenton Strange. Brenton Strange, if you don't know who he is, that's because most people don't. He's the tight end for Jacksonville after losing Mr. Evan Ingram. Yeah, he had 11 for 73 on 12 targets. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean,
He'd
the
be a
role
strange
is
name to have in your lineup in semifinal week.
Yeah, the role is there. We'll have to, make sure that Evan Ingram is out again before you play him. But when Evan Ingram has not been there, Strange has been involved.
We've got, we had a lot of disappointing performances at the tight end position, but Pat Freiermuth got back into the end zone for a third straight week, so that was nice. We'll take a break. We'll talk duds. Well, it's commiseration time, Mr. Moore. Let's do it.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
Evan Ingram is on IR officially, so Brenton Strange is a name to know.
Yeah, we actually did announce that.
Great.
Yeah.
I have to pee really bad.
No, I know you do. And I know that the Deucers are over there hoping
Yeah.
that at any moment you choose to get up.
Mm-hmm.
See, I wasn't sure if I should bring it up.
Well, now
but you messaged
the cat's
everybody.
out of the bag.
Relief could be yours, Jason.
Yeah, Jason.
The toilet trophy will stay yours, Papa Josh. Oh, nice. Yeah, let's talk about the duds. Let's really.
So you don't go to the bathroom before the show? I mean, after all these years?
I do, but I'm so hydrated, man.
Let me see your coffee count over here. Well, you drink most of that coffee.
Yeah, the coffee's almost gone. I'm still drinking coffee. Oh, come on. That's too long a drop. That lasts forever.
Just go, man. Just go. Oh, that's just.
Now, for the record,
Al is being real nice.
if I go in my pants here, I don't get the trophy, right? It's only if I leave the show?
I guess theoretically, if they win in. Well, no, I don't want to incentivize them to go in their pants.
Okay.
Because they would. They
Yeah.
would do that. They have no pride or decorum.
Yeah.
They are no maestros. All right, duds. Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, who turned the ball over 4 times.
Yeah, Kyler and Tua were expected to have big games, and they really – Kyler did again. This is the second time where he's played in a game where it's a blowout victory. It wasn't like he was bad, 30-17 victory, but for fantasy purposes, let you down because James Conner took over. Tua, on the other hand, was bad. Tua played like crap, threw the ball to the other team, and this is
really
kind of
pissed
what
the game away.
this is. This is what we were talking about, and my concern for him. He was great against the Raiders and great against the Patriots and great against the Jets, and it's like the Dolphins have basically in the entire Mike McDaniel era, they have beat up on bad teams, and they just can't hang with actual good teams.
I believe the number is 3-13.
So
against teams over 500.
Yeah, and so it's ironic because coming into this game against Houston, I wasn't sure if this was a good team. I was like, is this a really good team or is this kind of an okay team? And now they go up against another team where you go, is this a good – it's the San Francisco 49ers. It's like, are they a really good team or no?
Well, Houston was above 500. Maybe it's not just really good teams. It's just if you're above 500, you've got a bad shot. The 49ers are a game below.
Sounds right.
So, Kyler Murray, can you even trust him against Carolina on the road next week?
Trust is not in his DNA, no.
Jameis Winston got benched. He played really bad. I mean, just really, really, really bad. There were plays that you were just like, oh, gosh, Jameis, like this is embarrassing.
Yeah, it was a bad weather game, and that is the only bright thing you could say about Jameis Winston. He was – man, he was the – Jameis usually comes with like he's Two-Face, and he's flipping the coin and, you just don't know how it's going to come up. But he had a two-sided bad-faced coin in this game.
It didn't matter what side came up.
Both sides were awful.
Will Levis got benched.
Oh, Will Levis made Jameis Winston look good.
Yeah, Will Levis sucks.
He sucks. I love his quote last week. He's like, we're not going to worry about the results. It's like,
what?
Yeah, he had a quote last week.
What are you going to worry about then?
The process. And the process for him was three interceptions.
Don't worry about it all, man.
He threw 3 interceptions, Andy, and he only threw 12 passes. That's incredible work, Will.
Running backs, we had some down weeks from the top 3 running backs. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Saquon was – these are okay games for the ordinary player, but not for these guys.
And Derrick Henry was expected against the Giants with like a 2.5 touchdown spread. I mean, you expected Derrick Henry. I put a bet on Derrick Henry's over at 100 rushing yards. He only got to 67. Saquon's was a little bit more concerning because he got injured in this game, and he did come back, and he played, but he never looked the same.
No, he kept going down quickly, and
then they kept getting Gainwell involved. Gainwell was really involved as the game went along, so I want to hear more about his injury, but it's a little bit more concerning. Like Derrick Henry, I am not concerned at all. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson just annihilated the Giants, and they didn't need Derrick Henry, and then in the fourth quarter they didn't play Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and it's Pittsburgh next week, so, these are guys you're playing. These are just moments of, like James Cook last week, where you were like, this is not great. Do I have confidence? Well, you're going to play your stars. Joe Mixon's going to be a tough one, too. 12 for 23. He did catch 5 passes, but it's against Kansas City next week.
I don't think it's tough. Joe Mixon he's absolutely got to be started, and I think he'll be fine.
Chuba Hubbard, this was disappointing. Dallas is a weak run defense, but they're getting stronger.
Yeah, and their offense
10 for 32 on the ground, though. That's chubby Hubbard.
Yeah, I mean, you had a really bad game from Bryce Young. He looked like the Bryce of the beginning of the year, and that put them in a hole, and then that wasn't where they could run the ball and give Chuba another 31 opportunities.
Montgomery, we talked about it. He did catch 4 passes, but he ran for 4 yards and was barely on the field. Only the second game below double digits all year for Monty. They
30% of snaps.
Yeah, they play Chicago next week. That should be your saving grace if you have him. Chicago, they'll be heavily favored, and that's a plus matchup.
And it's always a good revenge game for Monty.
Tyrone Tracy Jr. did not play well. 10 for 31 against Baltimore. 1 catch. The touchdown went to Singletary.
The 1 catch was the real problem. I mean, he had 10 targets the week prior. Obviously, 2 quarterback changes, and it's hard to know what you could bake on from that. But his involvement in the passing game is what allows him to be good.
Najee Harris had a terrible, terrible, terrible game. This is the Philly matchup. Next week it's Washington, right? Facing Philly. The running game for Washington, I'd be terrified. Philly gave up 14 yards to Najee and 12 to Jaylen Warren and a fumble for Najee. It was a disaster for your team.
Yeah, very, very ugly.
At wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, Gustia, Debo and Juwan Jennings on Thursday. We talked about this game. Very disappointing. And here we are with Tyreek Hill after a 20-plus point week last week, 2 for 36.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been good pretty much the whole season. Tua, like I said, played like garbage, and it's very difficult to do well when your quarterback is stinking. I'm just curious, Andy, would you rather have Tyreek Hill or Lamar Jackson?
I like Lamar more. Why do you ask?
I ask because someone gifted you Lamar Jackson for Tyreek Hill a couple weeks ago, and
I mean, it wasn't straight up.
No,
there were lots of other pieces.
That was the primary.
Yeah, like you got Zay Flowers back in that trade too, right?
Yeah, and I gave up some picks.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are so stuck on these trades that I've made. Like, I'm proud of the trades that I made.
I would be too.
Like the results as the year goes on, I'm more proud of them because when you make a trade, you hope it works out in a way where your friends hate you because of the trade.
I would be if I were you, I would be so proud of how fast I was able to click accept on getting Jamar Chase for Amari Cooper. I'd be like, man,
see, you guys,
my pointer finger was like, it was
y'all
incredible.
Y'all take the other parts away because you're so overwhelmed with my greatness. Who won the title last year? Yeah. I hope you pee yourself, Jason.
Me too.
DK Metcalf is in the midst of a full disappearing act.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been not good, not medium, horrible. 32, 37, 41, 44, 57, and now might not have Geno and playing Minnesota.
JSN is for sure the wide receiver one for this team. He's overtaken it at the very least since DK Metcalf's injury. DK Metcalf looked good in the beginning of the year. He got injured, missed a couple games, had the bye week. Since that, he has come back, and he's on pace for 74 for 924 and no touchdowns. It's not – I mean, 924 yards is – that's not like, oh, you're a bum, a worthless NFL player, but you're not great for fantasy. And if you're not getting touchdowns, which he has had none since returning from the injury, feels like you can't even play him in fantasy.
Yeah, and in the 17-game seasons, you know, that's 50 yards a game basically, and that's not going to get it done. Amari Cooper, goose, full goose.
He might have been the one to hurt the most people.
I think that's Cooper Kupp by a lot because I think Amari Cooper was not played by everybody, but yeah, if you played him, you're probably not going to be prepping for a lineup next week.
No, probably not.
And then Calvin Ridley could not overcome the Will Levis experience. 3 for 41.
Has anyone? Calvin should put on the other team's uniform. You know what I mean?
Gosh.
Like if Calvin went out there in a Bengals uniform,
he would have had the same amount of receptions.
Yeah, and they usually go for touchdowns.
Oh, you're right. And he didn't score on these.
Yeah.
Put on another uniform, catch it, and then run the other way.
Yeah, I think that's the key if you're playing with Will Levis. Josh Downs.
It's like quarterbacks matter.
Speaking of quarterbacks mattering, Josh Downs got 8 targets from Anthony Richardson. He was able to catch 3 of them for 32 yards, so a down game in his first return to action. Anthony Richardson.
He was 45% completion percentage. He's up to 47% on the year.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson is maybe he can develop and become good. I mean, Josh Allen, who's the best of the best in the league right now, there was a time into his playing career where he stunk. He just wasn't good. And so you have like the hopes that Anthony Richardson can develop, but make no mistake, he is a bad quarterback right now. He is not able to run an NFL offense.
Josh Allen as a rookie, do you remember his completion percentage?
I would guess it was like 53%.
It was 53%.
Okay.
He then went to 59% as a sophomore and 69%.
The 69 was when he got Stephon Diggs.
In 2020. But, yeah, right now people just need to chill on Richardson in general.
Yeah.
On both sides. Every game I'm seeing declarations of I'm right about this or that. He's got the same amount of games played as Bo Nix. He started 12 collegiate games. He is super, super inexperienced as a professional quarterback, which is why you see some plays that look like he is the next Lamar Jackson, you know, a superstar, the next Cam Newton, and then there are plays that he looks absolutely awful. And just relax. Like you don't need to decide what he is yet.
I would agree with that. I mean, he can still develop into a good quarterback. For fantasy purposes, you're still going to have big weeks because of the legs. This week was tough because he threw 2 interceptions. He had, the long, I think like a 23-yard rushing touchdown, so it seemed like he was on his way to a good fantasy game.
Is he a streamer?
Yeah, he's a streamer. He's someone that is
that a triggering word for you right now?
No, I'm good, man. I've mentally fortified the urine into my bloodstream, so I am empty now. My bladder is gone.
Maybe if you cried a little bit from the,
I would cry urine right
well,
now.
that'd be gross. That'd be pretty gross. Okay, Kelsey 4 for 27. Cade Otton, is he?
I know how concerned you are because
I don't have anybody else to play.
You're rocking Cade Otton right now, and Baker had a great game again where he goes out, throws for a lot of yards and 4 touchdowns, and here's Cade Otton with 2 for 24.
Well, don't worry. I knew I had a Cade Otton problem, so I went out and I got a couple of guys.
Who'd you get?
Zach Ertz.
Oh, don't play him. He's concussed.
But no, I had Taysom Hill. Is he still an option for me?
He is done for the year.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not working.
Yeah.
That's going to be my downfall. Hunter Henry just 4 for 25. Jake Ferguson just 2 for 23. And Tucker Kraft was Tucker crap this week.
Nice.
Well, little did you know, Jason, we actually have a surprise 60-minute mailbag coming up.
Fantastic.
Did you know that?
I'm gonna pee my pants.
No, we don't. We got waivers and streamers tomorrow, and hungry for more of the Thursday night preview in the mailbag. We'll be getting you ready for your semifinal matchups. And when I say you, I meant Al, not you, Jason. I'm sorry, but you got your champ team.
I'm in a couple more leagues.
I know.
Just
you
not
knew
the league
you
of
didn't have a
record.
shot, but we all thought you might.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody. Catch you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.